We like to talk about resilience as if it's like this renewable energy, and it's not. It is only as strong as the opposite side of the spectrum. Your resilience can go as deep as your meditation. It can go as deep as the good conversation that you had with your friend. But it also has its limits. There is a point where the cup is truly empty.
Hey, it's Julie. Welcome to Uncomfy. You know, a lot of us are struggling right now with how to stay open to others when we seem to be living in different realities. I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells with people, but I also don't want to give up on connection. This is a podcast about staying with the moments we usually want to escape, the awkward ones, the tense ones, the ones that can actually teach us something. So let's get uncomfy.
I remember there was just this coldness in my feet and really feeling detached and feeling almost like I was floating, like the realization that, hey, you may not be as in tune with your feelings, with your body, with your reality as you think you are.
Friends, I want you to meet Muffy Mendoza. She's the founder of Brown Mamas, which is a sisterhood that connects thousands of moms with resources, advice, and community in Pittsburgh. She was once featured on the Jennifer Hudson show, and she has a nationwide reach online. Muffy, welcome to Uncomfy. It's so great to speak with you.
Thank you for having me, Julie. I'm so excited to talk with y'all about all the ways I've been uncomfortable the last few years. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about that moment then you were just describing where your body ran cold. Back it up a little bit. Tell us what was going on.
So there was just this time period in my life where I was immensely grieving. A year before all of this had occurred, I had found out that my father had stage 3 colon cancer. And that was on top of a body that also had kidney disease, that also was severely anemic, that also was fighting a heart condition. And from the moment he told me, something inside of me, it just said he was not going to make it. But at the time, I was also at the height of my career. And it just felt like the rug was pulled up from underneath me and I didn't have to continue work, but I chose to continue to work, knowing that this was likely the last year I was going to spend with my father. I continued to work. And so I would take him to the doctors every Monday. And then the rest of the week, I just dived into work. And life continued like this for about 7 months. And then on July 29th, the day after our largest event of the year, my father suddenly passed away. And so most people would get to that point and they would be like, all right, maybe that was a sign. Maybe I should stop. And I still didn't. And the entire time, from the very beginning, my team said, Muffy, this may be the year for you to really just take a break. And I was just like, no, I'm not taking a break. And so even after his passing, after the funeral died down, my husband pulled me out of Pittsburgh because he's seen that I wouldn't stop. And I still was going back and forth to work.
So you relocated
to Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
And
I mean, that was a pretty drastic move. Your husband's like,
yeah,
we got to take you out of the center of this community you've built. And what was the moment when you sort of went cold in your body and you realized that maybe you hadn't been, that you weren't as in touch with your emotions as you thought? Take us to that moment.
Right.
What was going on
So our final event of the year, it was in November. This was 3 months after my father had passed away.
Oh, it was that same year. Wow. Okay.
It was the same year. All of this is happening in 1 year. And so I flew in from Tampa for our final event of the year. We're known for our big events. Like, that is something that Brown Mamas is known for in Pittsburgh. So I show up to the event and everything looks beautiful. Staff they made sure everything was great, but no staff members came to the actual event. And then the entire event, panel discussions are happening, vendors are present, speeches are happening, and nobody is coming.
Like no audience members?
Nobody. My mom came, my grandmother came, and then we had a small team of volunteers that showed up. There were about 5 of them, and then all the vendors and me. I remember quite a few times going to the bathroom to cry and just being like, what did I do wrong? Like, why is nobody here? And realizing that this was team members, community members sending me a memo for my own good because I was not going to stop. And that's when I hit the brick wall where I stopped being able to work. I stopped being able to act like life wasn't affecting me in the way that it was affecting me. And I hate that it took me that much to get to that point.
I would have felt betrayed, angry, just be like, why did you have to humiliate me on this big stage? Like, why couldn't you just talk to me? I mean, wow.
But there's something about so this is what I will say.
Yeah.
I think that there is something about being an entrepreneur, an owner, and self-identifying that way that can make you unapproachable. And what I will say is I was unapproachable. I was not open to stopping. I was not open to those conversations because I seen myself as if I'm not here, it doesn't get done. And it's a certain degree of what I now have to admit is it's just egotistical. There's no way you can tell me that I ended up on the Jennifer Hudson show talking about this organization that I built with a bunch of other women I didn't get there by myself. But in my mind at that time, it was I was the only mainstay of the organization. I was the person who made it happen. And it really took for all of these things to happen for me to see, no, without them, there is nothing.
So you said that you hit a wall at that point then. So what changed? What did you start to realize and how did you respond in the coming months?
I think I just realized that I wasn't as strong and resilient as I thought I was. And I think I really hit the limits of my own resiliency. Because, we like to talk about resilience as if it's this renewable energy, and it's not. It is only as strong as really the opposite side of the spectrum. Your resilience can go as deep as your meditation. It can go as deep as your time off walking, your neighborhood. It can go as deep as the good conversation that you had with your friend. But it also has its limits. There is a point where the cup is truly empty. I think I reached that point probably a year or two beforehand, before all this happened, where there really wasn't anything left to give. And you know that because work starts to become transactional, because it has to be exacting, because you don't have anything to give. So if I give you this, you must give me this. If you give me this, I must give you this, because there's nothing else. And I think that I'd reached that point.
I appreciate you being so vulnerable, Muffy. I think that this sense of I can't stop, because if I let any of these balls stop, then the whole thing crashes, right? I think this is really relatable, I think, for a lot of people, a lot of, if dare I say, women in particular, who are bearing a lot of the responsibility in their homes and their families. So maybe this is a good moment to just talk a little bit about the Brown Mamas community and kind of what you learned about your own place in that community.
Whenever I think about the Brown Mamas community and what it means to Pittsburgh, what it means to the mothers who are part of the community, I always just think about being on the seesaw when you were a kid, right? You're on the seesaw by yourself, and then somebody else comes and they sit on the other side and you go up. And then you push yourself down, and then they go up, and that's what I think about when I think about the Brown Mamas community and what it means. It is an opportunity for women to, within their own agency, seek out support and be met with what they need, so that there becomes this cyclical status of give and take, receive, give, share. And that's what the Brown Mamas community is all about.
What kinds of resources?
It's a sharing of everyday resources, like I'm coming to vent and I would love for someone to listen. It's a sharing of strollers. It's a sharing of, can somebody come babysit my kids? But it's also a sharing of mentoring programs. It's a sharing of storytelling programs. It's a sharing of healing circles and support group meetings. And I like to call it either a network or a hub where moms can come and get what they need. I say, Brown Mamas is where the getting is good, as my grandmother used to say.
And what led you to start it then? What did that look like? What was the state of your life or your need or your skills, I guess, at the moment, a decade plus ago, that you decided to try to get this going with some of your friends?
So Brown Mamas really started out of my own need for really getting support during postpartum. my two younger kids were 17 and 18. I started it when they were 2 and 3 years old. So we've been around for a while. And at first we were just meeting in each other's living rooms and sharing advice, resources, support, play dates. I mean, just think about a regular mommy group, and the need kind of outgrew the living room. So we started doing that at bigger venues and started putting on events. And then events became like, okay, well, let's actually offer some services. So then we began our mentoring program, where pretty much more experienced moms came and mentored younger moms. And then we began our program to connect moms to local food banks, our Groceries and Growth program, which takes moms to the food banks so that they can go grocery shopping, and then introduces them to other leaders in the community. Then we started our Brown Mama Monologues event because we were hearing all these awesome stories from moms, and we were like, let's put these moms on stage and let them tell these stories to local politicians, local community leaders, so that people understand what the experiences of Black mothers in this region are. So it's done wonderful things, and all through the basic concept really of just sharing. What do you have that you can lend to me, and what do I have that I can lend to you? And yeah, started it with 8 moms in my living room, and now we're here.
Yeah, hundreds of moms are all
Right.
around the country. So Brown Mamas started to meet your own, because of some needs that you were experiencing. But it sounds like pretty quickly you morphed into the resource giver, right? The leader, the
Right.
resilient sort of provider. That met a need for you. And that's a beautiful story of how that, served your community and helped give you an identity. But then here you are, 10, 12 years later. And what was it like for you then to realize that you couldn't be the one, that maybe you needed to rely on the support of others rather than be the one that's always stepping in to provide the support?
Right. I think it wasn't until my father passed that I realized that I don't own the community, that it's not mine, and that I needed to be a part of it. And a lot of that happened after my father passed, with colleagues that were a part of the community, friends that were a part of the community, just really coming around me after my father's passing and being like, hey, because it took me until March of the next year to actually turn my autoresponder on and be like, I'm not coming to work. And I remember a lot of moms reaching out to me like, well, what do you need as you're taking this break? I remember one specific mom, we went out to coffee together, and she said to me, what do you need? And I said, to be honest with you, I just need people to stop asking me for stuff. And she was like, done. And I felt like it was either after I voiced it out loud, or maybe she reached out to some people, I don't know, but people literally stopped asking me for stuff. When I hit the brick wall and I wouldn't go outside, there were some moms who came and took me outside. They were like, let's go on a big bike ride, or let's meet me at the park and we can just talk. So I just remember that was when it kind of hit me that girl, you are not the owner of this community. You are a steward within the community, but this isn't yours. Yes, you are an executive within the organization, quote unquote, but that doesn't mean that I have to take on all the roles. And it's actually silly of me to think that I can as an individual, because that is just not the way humans work. I have to accept the limits of my humanity. And I think that's where I'm at today. As we work to relaunch Brown Mamas, really as a collective, we're calling it our Care Collective, and making sure that everything that is coming in has a person that is not me that can attend to it, or a group of people, really. One of our sayings is rotation is life. So thinking about if Muffy needs to take 3 months off, who can immediately come in? Who are we training? Who is she working alongside within the work? And the same thing for our executive assistant. Who can help her to continue to be life-giving? So just thinking about that throughout the entire organization, thinking about that even in terms of membership. Rotation is life. We should constantly be having new people, new ideas, new understandings coming to the forefront, because without it, it's like stagnant water, and something is going to die in stagnant water.
Is there one piece of advice, finally, Muffy, that you could share for people who feel a lack of community but are craving it? And what's a step that you took when you were craving community that you recommend other people consider?
It's really simple. The help you need is just an open hand away. Like, you have to put your hand out. Nobody's going to force you to do it. It is a completely voluntary thing to put your hand out and say, I need help. So if you are a mom who needs help with groceries, if you are a middle-aged man who hasn't cried before, if you are a kid who feels like you're not being heard, you likely are not going to get help until you ask for it. And that's the reality. I hate that that's where we live, because I hate that we have to put the onus for people who need help on them to get it, because we don't see each other enough. But this is where we are. You have to be willing to hit that brick wall and say, listen, I'm turning on my autoresponder. I can't be here like I used to be here anymore. Turn on your autoresponder. That's my advice.
Take breaks to care for yourself.
Yes.
Muffy, well, thank you so much for being so vulnerable, but also sharing your wisdom with us today. I've really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully it was helpful.
Absolutely. Muffy Mendoza is the founder and CEO of Brown Mamas. You can learn more about their work at brownmamas.com. And thank you for getting uncomfy with us today. You know, Muffy's actually a great example of a weaver. That's a term that was coined by the Aspen Institute's Weave Initiative for somebody who's working to strengthen the fabric of society, to weave stronger connections between us. Muffy obviously started a whole movement, but ultimately she had to realize that she wasn't just weaving connections between other brown mamas, she was woven into that fabric herself. And letting it lift her up is part of weaving a stronger social fabric. If you're curious about how other people are weaving and what that could look like for you, I highly recommend you check out the website weaving.us. And let me know how you're getting a little uncomfy for the sake of building connection. Email uncomfy@byu.edu or find us on social media at uncomfy.podcast is our Instagram handle. Uncomfy is a BYU Radio podcast. Samuel Benson produces it. The team includes Hyobin Kim and Abby Karras. Our theme music was composed by Kelsey Ney. I'm Julie Rose. I can't wait to get uncomfy with you again next week. Julie here. Just one more thing before you go. If you're a mom or if you know a mom that could use a little backup, there's a new podcast from BYU Radio you'll want to hear about. It's called The Council of Moms, and it's all about the real, messy, beautiful moments of motherhood, from picky eaters and bedtime battles to the deeper stuff like anxiety and raising resilient kids. The show is honest, funny, full of heart. These are moms who get it, and they're showing up to support each other and support you. So if you're feeling a little overbooked and underappreciated, this might be just the boost you need. You can find Council of Moms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen.